What a 72 hours for the President of the United States. Good morning. Happy Monday as we kick off Independence Week here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We are streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Team Biden in damage control since that horrific debate on Thursday night. And all you're hearing over the weekend is talk about how Joe Biden cannot possibly be the nominee. But his own team is in damage control. Now, to be clear, I believe the best thing for the Democratic Party is to bail on Joe and put in some no-name, harmless Democrat that nobody's ever heard of. Not Gavin Newsom, not Kamala Harris, but one of these, like a Josh Shapiro, whose name keeps coming up. He's the governor of Pennsylvania, who's just like, no one really knows him, relatively harmless. I believe that's what makes the most amount of sense for the party as they sit here today. But Team Biden is not going anywhere. And it all kicked off on Friday afternoon. So Friday afternoon, Joe Biden's bouncing all over the country. He's got the debate in Atlanta on Thursday night. He goes to North Carolina for a rally on Friday afternoon. And basically, the drugs kicked in 12 hours late.
I'm serious. Failing, I don't know, a president wouldn't trade places with America in a heartbeat. He's dead wrong. America's not a losing nation. America's winning. As I stand here today, I can honestly say I've never been more optimistic about America's future in my whole career. We just have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America.
Some doctor's getting his butt fired after that. That's what I thought I was going to hear on Thursday night. A guy who was juiced up. Instead, 15 hours later, that guy showed up. So whatever it was kicked in late. And that was Joe Biden's Wolf of Wall Street moment, as I call it on Friday afternoon.
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving.
Yeah!
The show goes on.
That's right. The show goes on. That was Joe Biden Friday afternoon doing his best. I guess Jordan Belfort, Leonardo DiCaprio, depending on how you want to look at it. But that was him on Friday. And then Joe Biden, so that's Friday in North Carolina. Saturday, he goes up to the Hamptons, and he does a big fundraiser, $250,000 to get in. And the reports coming out of there is that, once again, Joe Biden staying strong. He's moving forward. He's not done. He's not going anywhere. Now, there's still a lot of concern. There's a lot of talk about whether or not it makes sense for him to move forward, but he is signaling, as is his wife, Jill Biden, that they are moving ahead with their reelection bid. And then comes Sunday, yesterday, the Biden family reportedly meets at Camp David, and they elect to move forward. So that's what happened. That's what the last 72 hours looked like for Joe Biden. And apparently one of his biggest advocates was Hunter Biden to decide that he should move forward. Now, I don't know. Listening to the son who's got a slew of legal issues who may benefit tremendously from Pop staying in the White House, I'm not sure that's the guy who's going to be the honest arbiter of Joe Biden's mental state and mental acuity to continue on as president of the United States. But that's neither here nor there. I suppose the blame goes to Jill. If there's somebody to blame right now, it's Jill Biden. The fact that she is letting this man go through with this, letting this man continue to embarrass himself, his family, and his country in the way that he did on Thursday night, all falls back on her. And it's amazing, just talking to people over the weekend and being out and about and hearing from you on Friday morning, that was a consensus theme that just as a fellow human being, you had empathy for Joe Biden. Not as a politician, not what he's done as president, but just hanging around and bumping into people Saturday, Sunday, Friday afternoon, it was like, gosh, I just feel bad for the guy as a human being. And where does that come back to? That comes back to his wife. That comes back to Jill Biden, who I've got to believe is on her own little power trip and is just liking this a little too much. Liking the attention, liking being the most powerful spouse in the entire world. I mean, that's where you have to continue to point the finger at. She's continuing to drive this thing, to drive this reelection bid, and apparently she was the main driver in 2020 as well.
Yeah, that video that came out about, hey, you answered all the questions.
Yeah.
Boy.
I mean, it's embarrassing.
It was.
It was so embarrassing. And she's not doing herself. She's not doing her party. She's not doing her country any favors. On Friday, Bill O'Reilly was on the show. If you missed it, you can go listen to the podcast. Wherever you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, search Pete Mundo, you'll find it. You subscribe to it right there. So if you miss any of the show, you can find it afterwards. Bill O'Reilly on this show on Friday, which, by the way, an interview that he shared on his own website, BillO'Reilly.com, just admitted what we all saw. Joe Biden is done. But the person who may prevent that from happening is the person who should be looking out for him the most, his wife.
Joe Biden's finished. He's not going to be the candidate, not going to be on the ballot, can't recover from it. So everybody who was watching, it was pretty horrifying that this is the most powerful man in the world. And some of the stuff he actually said which almost defies belief. Now, Mundo, as you know, because you do follow me and BillO'Reilly.com, I have been saying since March that something big was going to happen to really define this race in November. Well, something big happened last night. Joe Biden was so inarticulate, so out of it, that anybody voting for him is basically voting to hurt your own family and yourself. This man cannot run the country. Now, all the other issues, okay, but that is obvious to any fair-minded person. The man cannot do the job, and I believe he will be replaced at the convention in Chicago in August. He will resign like LBJ did in 1968. He'll throw his delegates to whoever the Democratic Party deems could beat Trump.
All right, that was Bill O'Reilly on this show on Friday morning. Now, there's one thing that could potentially hold that back from happening. And I'll tell you what that one thing is. And we'll get to you at 913-408-7957. Coming up next on 95.7 FM KCMO and streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Money, money, money. That's what it's all about. And that's what this ultimately may come down to that keeps Joe Biden on the ballot. Money. The Wall Street Journal explained this very well on Friday, but it still has not gotten enough attention over the weekend. When, everyone's talking about, all right, if Biden's done, who gets in? Who goes in? Who fills in? Well, there are hundreds of millions of reasons to keep Joe Biden atop of the ticket. And every single one of them is about dollars and cents. As the Wall Street Journal explained on Friday, the Biden-Harris campaign has raised a considerable amount of money toward his reelection. And campaign finance experts say that cash simply cannot be transferred to another candidate if Biden drops out, unless the candidate is Kamala Harris, who would just inherit the campaign committee. She's the only one who could fill in and take all the money that Biden has raised, all the big donor money. Last month when you got George Clooney, and who else were the wackos up there on stage with George Clooney for that big fundraiser a couple of weeks ago?
Julia Roberts,
right?
Streisand.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. If this was like 1999, that's a compelling
great,
list.
Right?
Yeah, that'd be top of the line.
Pay-per-view stuff on HBO.
But just like Biden, they're all washed up, former A-listers. But they raised a ton of money, right? They raised something like $25-30 million at that deal a couple of weeks ago. So that money cannot just be transferred to Gavin Newsom, to Josh Shapiro, to Gretchen Whitmer. The only way all the money Joe Biden has raised can be transferred is if it is to Kamala Harris. And, I'm sure there won't be any moments where the powers that be look in the mirror. But this is a fascinating case study on why you should just pick the best person for a job and not the person who checks off boxes. Remember, after George Floyd was killed, Joe Biden promised to pick a woman of color as his running mate. And this is what he gets. Now, he could have picked like a Condoleezza Rice. Now, we knew that wasn't going to happen. But technically, he could have done that when he announced after George Floyd was murdered that he was going to pick a woman of color. There's no way Kamala Harris was going to be his VP choice. Remember, she basically called him an old racist when they were in a primary together.
Left her out waiting on the bus that day.
Yes, remember that? Yeah, I was that girl on the bus from 2019. She basically called Joe Biden an old white racist. And then he picks her as VP in one of the most insane about faces of all time. And, I think a lot of people figured that maybe she wasn't up for the job, but she could learn on the job. She'd be worse than Joe. I mean, if I'm looking to run the Democratic Party and you're saying to me, who do I go with? Do I go with Biden? Do I go with Harris? You know what? I'm taking an incoherent Joe Biden 10 out of 10 times over Kamala Harris, and it's not even close. I mean, if you get Kamala, you get stuff like this. You just can't have her up there. She doesn't make any sense, John.
Somewhere Dan Quayle is going, yeah.
And you know what? I don't blame him for feeling that way. But you cannot have Kamala atop of the ticket. Trump will beat her by more of a margin than he would beat someone like Joe Biden.
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
There you go. Thank you, Kamala. It's that kind of inspiration that you'll get more of if she ends up in the White House, which is just crazy to think. So because they can't just transfer the money to anybody but Kamala Harris, that's the best thing Joe Biden has going for him right now. The money. 913-408-7957. It's 913-408-7957. That's our studio line, and that is the text line here on KCMO Talk Radio as we get it rolling on a Monday of Independence Week. Let's go to Ed. He's in Gladstone. Hi, Ed. You're on KCMO. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Pete, you're kind of missing the point here. I hear that today the White House is going to release a letter from 61 university debate coaches that says Joe actually won the debate. So you've just been misinformed.
Very well done there, Ed in Gladstone. Nice work, buddy. Very nice job. That's a reference, of course, to 2020. The 61 intelligence officers who claim that Hunter Biden's laptop is Russian disinformation. Whoops. That one didn't turn out to be accurate now, did it?
I always love that. Signed a letter.
Yeah.
X amount. We had that all during COVID.
Oh,
all
yeah.
these letters signed. I'm
oh,
like,
yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yep. Just get the experts, air quotes, to sign letters, and apparently we're supposed to take them seriously. Oh, you mean guys like Rex Archer?
Thanksgiving.
Oh!
Boy, I love Thanksgiving.
I love Thanksgiving.
It backfires like that Fast Times at Ridgemont High where Spicoli says, I don't know, and Mr. Hand says, I'm going to write that on the board for all my classes to see and give you full credit. It backfires sometimes.
It certainly does. Wes is in Gladstone. He's on KCMO. We're starting heavy in Gladstone this morning. What's up, Wes?
Yeah, Pete. So I would be curious to know, can they take all the money in the campaign, can they transfer it to a charity, say the Biden Global Initiative, and then the family lives off of that money for, that buys a lot of blows and hose. So, how long that can last. But I think that's a possibility, man. If they can transfer that money.
Transfer it to the family? No. You think the donor class is going to say, sure, Joe, take my $250,000 check and make sure Hunter has a good time with the Eastern European ladies? Come on now.
Do you think? Well, how could they stop him? Joe's not going to run. He doesn't care. He's not. He's out of politics. Thursday ended his political career. They don't care. They've never cared. And they take the money, transfer it to a charity that the only employees are the Biden family. They have a cancer charity now that they've never given a dime to research. It's all gone to salaries and travel.
Listen, anything is possible. Anything is possible. Well, but there will be plenty of ways to cash in after, he's done, after the family's done. That I don't see that being a realistic path forward for him here, Wes.
If it's legal, that's the question.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not a legal scholar on this stuff, but I can't fathom the idea that you could roll campaign dollars over into a made-up charity. But I suppose anything's possible. Possible.
That's his way out, man.
Yeah. Well,
and the family still gets paid.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, you get in the White House, your family's making money. I mean, it's not right, but that's how it goes. I mean, look at any example here over the last generation. Clinton's, Obama's, there's certainly plenty of ways to make money. Toby in Overland Park, what's up, Toby?
Good morning. Hey, I was just thinking, this kind of shows something scary, that the president's only a figurehead. And if Putin wants Biden in office, that should just scare everyone.
Well, one of the scariest parts, thanks, Toby, of the entire night on Thursday is that all our world leaders were watching. Xi, Putin, all of them. And you got to believe they looked at that and they said, that guy's running the country? And I think you could see some expedited moves around the world in the months ahead if Biden stays at the top of the ticket. 913-408-7957. Pete Mundo on a Monday morning here on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM, streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Coming up, a big day today in Kansas City. Big announcements happening at about 10 o'clock this morning. And we'll tell you what's going on. It relates to the Plaza and what could get you back, if anything, to the Plaza. That's next on 95.7 FM. Well, the Plaza sale went final on Friday. How about that? Woo! As we flip over the calendar to July. And this morning, the city is going to welcome the Plaza's new owners at 10 o'clock this morning at a press conference, right at the start of the Ray Stevens show. So maybe Mark and Ray will carry some of that show coming up here in 3.5 hours. I know Ray's going to have a lot to say on a Monday, but I'll be curious to see. I'm sure there'll be a lot of hoopla, a lot of rah-rah around that press conference, and I hope it's all worthy. I really do. I am rooting for the Plaza. There's no doubt in my mind the Plaza can turn itself around. But it's going to take a lot more than just new ownership, John.
I'm working on a story for tomorrow that Kansas is going to step in and try to get the Plaza across the state line. I can't talk about it right now.
How many junk bonds are they going to try to offer up for that one? Okay,
not at liberty to discuss anymore.
Okay, well, we'll hear from, I'm sure, the leaders in Topeka tomorrow morning on that plan. Bunch of geniuses. Unbelievable. So 10 o'clock this morning, that's going to be taking place. This group that bought the Plaza is HP Village Partners. They own Highland Park in Dallas. Now, a lot of people have said, and my wife, Kate, she has been down to this Highland Park Village in Dallas. I have not been there. She has been there when she visited Dallas years ago. And she said it's very swanky, high-end stuff, exactly what you would kind of think. It's like, I don't know, if you want to compare it to a Worth Ave in Palm Beach or something along those lines, but it's very high-end. So it's in many respects what the Plaza was in its heyday. The problem is, and I was reading this last night, the Plaza is 5 times the square footage of Highland Park. Now, Dallas is about 4 to 5 times, well, the Metroplex down there. is about 4 to 5 times the size of the Kansas City metro. So they've got an area that is 1/5 the size of the Plaza in a community and a region that is 5 times the size of Kansas City. So in many respects, while they've had a lot of success down there with Highland Park Village, it's a very different game up here in Kansas City. You have a smaller population base. You have a smaller customer base as a result, and you've got 5 times the area to fill with potential tenants and then as a result, shoppers. That's you're not going to duplicate what you did in Dallas. It's going to be much more difficult. And on top of that, you have some issues here in Kansas City that, you don't have in Dallas. And that is one of the worst homicide rates in the country on a per capita basis, a police force that has been decimated indirectly and directly for the better part of 4 years. And while, yes, the idiots that ran that show are starting to realize that, gosh, maybe we should back the blue and fund the police and have their backs, the damage has been done. And they've done a tremendous amount of damage. And those are things that HP Village Partners can't really control. Now, I'd like to think that they had deep conversations with city leaders on, what their plans are on policing, what their plans are on prosecuting, and how they're going to turn this thing around. If not, then shame on them. But it's still going to take time, a lot of time, to get this thing turned around. So my question for you on a Monday morning is, what would it take? What will it take to get you back down to the Plaza? I don't think new ownership, new ownership, sure, I'm going to go down. But I think that, an awareness by ownership that, hey, we realize what you've been dealing with, and promoting the fact that maybe there's going to be more security down there would at least be a step in the right direction for a lot of people, John.
Yeah, in the 80s, it kind of went to the high-end thing. And when I was growing up and in high school in the 70s, there was a Woolworths there. There was a gas station on the Plaza. And so we kind of moved things out and made it more Rodeo Drive for as long as that kind of lasted. But, we're dealing with the whole brick-and-mortar issue right now. When you're looking at bringing in clients, the Plaza keeps adding more buildings. So, maybe with the original infrastructure, you could have gone back to the Rodeo Drive model type thing and more like Dallas. Well, we've got more stores to fill down there now.
Yeah, you
so
do.
You can't stick to that plan, I don't think.
You got to have a blend, I think.
So a blend, and then the only other thing I might posture is Kansas City. It could, as long as it's a unique location. Nordstrom's wasn't in this market for a long time. So if Nordstrom's were on the Plaza or some such place, I can't think of any, but you might know of certain retailers that at least aren't here. But how many of them are expanding?
And how many of them, let's be honest, want to go to the Plaza? If they can go down south, if they can look at parts of Johnson County, if they can go up north, if they can go out east, the Plaza, of course, sounds nice, but your rent's going to be higher, and you're going to deal with headaches that, let's be honest, you don't have to deal with in other parts of town. That's just a reality. Go to town center. How many of those brick and mortar spots that are in town center right now would 20 years ago have been on the Plaza? Probably a lot of them. Like, they would have wanted to be on the Plaza, no ifs, ands, or buts. Well, now they say, yeah, I don't know about that. We'll go out south. For 2 reasons. One, I don't know if the rent's necessarily significantly cheaper, but it's a better place for them to operate, less headaches. And 2, they're largely in the area where their potential customers live. And their potential customers want to shop and want to do business. You can go through town center and you can say, yep, that would have been at the Plaza 20 years ago. This would have been at the Plaza 25 years ago, even 15 years ago. And now they're not even thinking twice about it. The text line is 913-4087-957. Pete, first and foremost, I will never go back to the Plaza until they commit to security and do it publicly. Well, the city has said they're going to have more of a presence down there. We had the police chief on, Stacey Graves, and she said this summer there's going to be more of a police presence down on the Plaza. That's a good step in the right direction. But over the weekend, I was watching Kansas City Week in Review on PBS, and I wasn't on there this weekend with our buddy Nick Haynes, but this was obviously a big topic. And you had, 4 people on the panelists who I believe at very least lean left. And they all readily admitted that, crime, fear of crime, safety is an issue. You had Mary Sanchez, who writes for Flatland KC, formerly of The Star. She noted, rightfully so, that as a woman, as an older woman, she's not walking around the plaza by herself in the parking garages. She noted how when she goes and plays tennis, she'll walk back with a buddy. They will not go by themselves to walk through the parking garages on the plaza as women. That tells you all you need to know. And by the way, this is not coming from a right-wing flamethrower or something like that. I mean, Mary Sanchez is going to lean the other way, and that's fine. But she's admitting that on television in this town. And I know that she's not alone. Pete, maybe my family can dine in the Shake Shack after 5 p.m. Well, hold on. Let's not get carried away here, okay? Pump the brakes before we start getting crazy, like talking about dining at Shake Shack after 5 o'clock at night on a weekend. Let's get this thing sold before we move forward on that front. But I will be fascinated to hear from Quentin Lucas today at 10 o'clock during this press conference in terms of what his approach is. Is his approach like, everything's great, the plaza's a crown jewel, oh, this is just going to make it even better? Or does he take the approach of, no, we've got problems. And our new partnership with this group, HP Village Partners, is going to help us turn things around. I hope the approach is the latter. I hope it's not all, unicorns pooping Skittles over the rainbow type of thing, as John Anthony famously says. I hope that's not it. I hope it's a real dose of reality, acknowledging the issues, acknowledging the problems, because what's the first step to turning things around? You've got to acknowledge the problem that you have. 913-4087-957. It's 6:43 on a Monday morning. Pete Mundo on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM. We are streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. 1 hour from now is your first and next chance today to try to win that Morgan Wallen flyaway to Vegas to see his final shows out there at the Sphere in Las Vegas. Meantime, on the other side of the state line, how much is the funding coming in for homeless shelters in Johnson County in particular? Your tax dollars going to that. Where and why, we'll tell you next on KCMO. Well, I guess part of the reason your taxes keep going up in Johnson County is because the county commission is now funding homeless shelters right off I-35, possibly in your backyard. So on Thursday, Johnson County, oh my gosh, this is such a headache on so many levels. But Johnson County and its cities have been asked to chip in $500,000 a year for a new homeless shelter. So the county is building a homeless shelter and service center in a repurposed La Quinta Inn and Suites. Now, it's right off I-35, right by Oak Park Mall, right there on 95th Street. So that makes a lot of sense, right? Let's put a bunch of homeless people in the premier shopping district in Johnson County, or at least the most robust shopping district in Johnson County. Maybe not premier, but certainly a lot of action over there. And on Thursday, the commissioners voted their intentions to contribute $60,000 towards operating expenses to run this homeless service center and housing camp in this repurposed Lenexa hotel. In total, officials with Restart, the nonprofit that is going to run the facility's operations, told the county commission that the group would need roughly $500,000 in local funds from both the county and cities to help pay for the shelter's annual operating expenses, at least at first. That's just the first nut, $500,000 from the county and surrounding cities. So you're sitting there as a homeowner in Johnson County right now. You're getting up on a Monday morning, and your county commission, and soon enough, by the way, your city council, is going to be asked to chip in hundreds of thousands of dollars to run a homeless shelter right there at I-35 and 95th Street. Is that where you want your tax dollars going today? Now, for those of you who have insisted for the better part of, several years since we've started this show, that you don't care what happens in Kansas City, Missouri, what goes on in Kansas City, Missouri is irrelevant to you because you live in Johnson County, wake the bleep up. Bad policy in Kansas City leads to impacts on Johnson County. And the homeless issue, which has become incredibly bad since COVID, since, all the chaos of 2020 in Kansas City, Missouri, has leaked its way into Johnson County. That's indisputable if you have two eyes and they work. And then, of course, we still don't know where things stand. And I've got to ask Mayor Lucas next time he's on the show with the grand plans to ship in illegal immigrants from Denver and New York and how that's shaping up. But that will have impacts in Johnson County as well. Because let's be honest, if you're going to be a homeless bum, where do you want to hang out? 95th and Metcalf or parts of Kansas City, Missouri? I know where I'm going, and it ain't the latter. So this vote came down 4-3 on Friday. The commissioners voted 4-3 to have the staff move the funding plan forward. The no votes came from Charlotte O'Hara, who's going to be on the show approaching 9 o'clock here on KCMO, and then also from Becky Fast, Northeast Johnson County, and Michael Ashcraft. However, those two, Fast and Ashcraft, said they were unhappy the discussion was cut short when the question was called, and they would have voted for it otherwise. They just wanted more time to talk about it. So it was really just Charlotte O'Hara who voted against this whole deal. So now, items related to the Homeless Services Center will come up again at the commissioner's next regular meeting, which is on July 18th. So we've got now 2.5 weeks until their next meeting. But this is one of those things that, when it comes to the county and how the county is spending your money, is this the answer? At 913-408-7957. I mean, you are seeing your taxes, our taxes, continue to go up every single year. And they always tell you, well, this is what it takes to operate a county, and inflation impacts us too, and yada, yada, yada. But they've got money to dole out up to potentially $500,000 for a homeless shelter right there in Lenexa, right by Oak Park Mall, the old La Quinta Inn. Okay, you've got that kind of dough. Well, by the way, you guys keep it up. We're all going to be bumming at the La Quinta Inn. I mean, I'm going to be looking for a room there pretty soon. You guys keep jacking up the taxes like this.
That La Quinta Inn went downhill when they closed down the Denny's, by the way.
Oh, is that what happened?
Denny's right next to it.
Oh, okay. So what happened? People used to get trashed, go to Denny's, and then go to the La Quinta Inn for a night's sleep?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
That's what I heard. Wasn't me.
We would go there after concerts because it was a 24-hour Denny's, so we'd hear some weird stories going on.
Oh, God.
That stand-up comedians would work that into their routine, guys. I'm staying out in Lenexa there, the La Quinta on I-35 and 95th, which is apparently Spanish for just behind Denny's.
Very nice. Very well
Comedy
done.
gold from the 80s.
Mike Kelly, many of you are calling out on the text line right now at 913-408-7957. Pete, electing a Marxist as Johnson County chair doesn't help matters. Well, listen, Mike Kelly is very much in line with Quinton Lucas. There's no doubt about it. They are buddies. They want to have a vision for the region at large. And there's a lot of things within that vision that I don't think are going to be good. But here's the thing. Is Johnson County going to wake up? Or is Johnson County just gone too woke to realize what's in its own best interests? And they'll continue to do the whole, not in my backyard. Not in my backyard. No way, no how. But yeah, sure, go over there. Yeah, right off I-35 in Lenexa. That's perfect spot for you guys. But don't come over here to Wokewood. Don't come over here to South OP. I don't know. John's in Grain Valley. What's up, John? You're on KCMO.
You know, Pete, I've been radio silent because my friend Bill told me to be for 3 weeks now. I can't let your grasp of the obvious continue. This is uncalled for and shall not stand. My whole thing with the police department, downtown, anything else, and I think you hit it right, there's a relationship there. Emotional, financial, everything, like any relationship. When that is damaged, I mean damaged, what will bring you back to that toxic relationship? Very little. So no matter what they want to do, and the city and the mayor can now claim they got a win, a really big win, that this company believes in the city, we believe in the city. By the way, what a great way for me to finish out my term to say I rescued, finger quotes, the Plaza. But the fact remains, would you go downtown? Do you really want to do that? The parking, the crime, the homelessness, all these other things tie into it.
Yeah. And they all weave together. They all weave together, John.
Do. Absolutely. And when you turn around and say, yeah, but we're doing this, what's in your mind is, no. It's like you go to a restaurant and you have a crappy meal. And then people say, hey, let's go back. I heard it's new management. No, crappy meal ain't going to do it. Management doesn't change. The cook still spits in the soup, and I'm not going there. I don't care how good the parking is.
Yep. Listen, all this stuff, thank you, John, weaves together. The Plaza getting new ownership today weaves into the issues in Johnson County. The regional approach that we do have by leaders in Johnson County, in KCMO, across the state line. We are not like all these little fiefdoms that operate separately. We're not. And some of you want that to be the way of the world, but it's not realistic. It doesn't make any sense to operate that way. That's why Johnson Countyans should want good leadership in Kansas City and Jackson County, and vice versa. We're all better off. Travis, Lenexa, got a minute? Travis, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, hey, Pete. If you remember right, wasn't it the police officer and that police chase with the Prairie Village police officer started right there at that Quick Trip as well. That's a very dangerous area in Lenexa. It's right in our neighborhood. So that what Lenexa and what Johnson County's not realizing is it's going to be more than $500,000 because they need more police officers at that corner. And the homeless shelter is not going to help it out one bit.
Oh, that's an excellent point. They never think about the ramifications of, jacking in 500, 1,000 apartments on this street corner, homeless shelters here, the infrastructure costs, the cost for public safety. They never think about that. They just don't, or they just don't want to. Either way. News coming up in 2 minutes. And then after that, Team Biden on defense will tell you why. Well, this appears to be the play from Joe Biden's team after the fallout continues from the disastrous debate on Thursday night. Happy Monday, 7:05. Thanks for joining us to kick off Independence Day week here on KCMO. So the Biden team sent out a fundraising email on Saturday night. This was after they had a big fundraiser out in the Hamptons. And the fundraising email showed a poll saying every other Democrat would be losing to Donald Trump as well, as evidence for why Joe Biden should not drop out. I mean, what an absolute dumpster fire. Basically, their approach is, oh, yeah, well, we might be incompetent. Our guy might not be able to talk, but the other options are even worse.
AKA the tallest midget.
Yeah, this very much is. They have this graphic here in this fundraising email that went viral over the weekend, and it shows, Biden losing to Trump right now with likely voters 48-45. Then it shows Kamala Harris losing 48-45, Buttigieg, Sweet Pete losing 47-44. They got Gavin Newsom losing 47-44. Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, losing 46-44. They got Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, losing 46-43. And then the slob over in Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, losing 46-43. So their point here is to justify Joe Biden staying in the race by saying, well, he might be losing, but, well, he's losing by less than the other guys you're thinking about out there would be losing. And yes, he has the war chest. He has the power of the incumbency. He has all of those things. Now, I do believe that, for the Democrats, putting up a generic D does give them a better shot than Joe Biden. Somebody who has really no record, no background, no track record, because then they can spin it and try to make the entire election about Donald Trump. So, yeah, I know you don't know our guy, but, man, you don't want Trump back. And enough Americans might be like, yeah, we don't. But I still think that's their best bet. Because right now, this election is clearly a referendum on Joe Biden. That is indisputable. And you look at some of these other candidates, and you say to yourself, I mean, are you really going to put Kamala up there? You can't. She's got an approval rating at 32. You can't put a Veep up there with a 32% approval rating on the top of the ticket. That'll be a disaster. You can't throw Gavin Newsom up there. I mean, I know he looks good. I know he's got the hair and he's, at a central casting and the whole deal. But the guy's, done a terrible job in California. Did you see this clip? After the debate, Gavin Newsom was on with News Nation. And Adam Carolla, yes, Adam Carolla from The Man Show, who now, has a very popular podcast, and he's dabbled in politics, and he started to lean right really in the wake of COVID. He's a Californian, and he's seen that state just go to hell under Newsom's leadership. So he was on the panel, and he got a chance to ask Gavin Newsom a question. And listen to this back and forth with Gavin Newsom. And this is something that, regardless of, gas prices, people fleeing the state, cost of living, all those different things, Gavin Newsom can't possibly be the candidate for this reason alone. Take a listen.
Adam Carolla here. Governor, why did you shut the beaches in California during COVID?
Yeah, I think we all were working on information at the time. We had no basis of deeply understanding the virus. I think they did the same thing.
So you didn't know anything, so why'd you shut the beaches?
States like Florida.
If you didn't know anything, why'd you shut the beaches?
Well, we didn't know. Yeah, because people were concerned early in the pandemic. Information was coming out as it relates to how it was transferred, the disease, and people were cautious, trying to keep people alive. And I should say this,
so
Adam,
you didn't let them go in the sunshine and get vitamin
California
D
outperformed.
and exercise, so you shut the beaches. Okay. And you arrested a guy who was paddleboarding in the bay.
On health, wealth, and...
Yeah, any
it's always
science
good to see
behind
Adam,
that? Any science
we're
at
all
all behind
geniuses
shutting
in
outdoor
hindsight.
dining? Why'd you shut down outdoor dining? Go ahead, go.
Science. It's good to see Adam.
Based on science,
look,
you didn't
at the end of the day, the debate tonight.
It's not a debate. You shut
I'm
down
looking
outdoor
forward to the
dining.
debate,
You canceled
compare and
businesses.
contrast
Had
tonight.
nothing to do with science.
All right, let him finish.
People, all right, go ahead.
All this happened in the.
How does Gavin Newsom get over that moment? And I don't mean that moment on that show. I mean the moment of COVID. The guy was arresting paddleboarders in the ocean during COVID. Like, yeah, there was a lot of bad response, and yes, there's things that we didn't know. The guy was arresting freaking paddleboarders. Don't give me the whole, yeah, we're all geniuses in hindsight. I mean, he's acting like this is all hindsight 2020. Dude, you had people in the middle of the ocean by themselves you were arresting. I don't know how Gavin Newsom can possibly get over that hurdle. I mean, there's no set of veneers, and there's no amount of hair gel that's going to get him through a moment like that. Doesn't mean Donald Trump is going to play his hand perfectly if he's on that debate stage with Newsom at some point, but I don't see how you can throw that guy up there. No matter how well and how smooth he talks to the donor class. The proof is in the pudding in terms of what he's done and what his leadership has led to in that state. So Bill O'Reilly was on the show on Friday, and he noted this about the options moving forward.
What they're going to do is basically go after Trump even harder. They're going to smear him even worse, try to find anything they can find to derail him. And then on a back channel, they're all calling up Ron Klain and Obama's people and saying, well, you should get Whitmer or you should get Shapiro. Or I mean, I don't think they can run Gavin Newsom. My God, California. That would be a Nixon, George McGovern race if they put Newsom in there. He's terrible. But anyway, it's disarray. But don't expect the media to ever say, well, we were wrong. That will never happen.
No way. Not a chance. Steve in Kansas City. What's up, Steve? You're on KCMO.
Hey, P, I think I've heard a lot of people that are getting way too overconfident here. Listen, Joe Biden is not going anywhere. Let's just put that right now. Hunter's sentence is not even going to come down maybe until October. He can't commute. He's got to stay in there. He's only down 3. We were up. Trump was up 1 or 2 in every swing state poll. Now Biden is down 3. That's not really that much. Let's not get way over confident here. The media, sort of like Bill O'Reilly said, is going to cover for everything that this guy does. They're going to turn Biden into the comeback kid of Ronald Reagan. Now, people have seen what he looks like, but we've already seen the spin. Axios says he's a 10-4 bank president kind of guy. His focus is off after 4 o'clock. So let's not think that this guy is over, because he still has a lot of crooked things to do and to get Hunter off. So I mean, we're being way too overconfident that none of those contenders in the polls they're all even. They're all even with Biden. All the people you mentioned, no one is coming through that door because it's not better than Biden right now.
Well, here's the thing. I think over the long term, it would be better for them to flip them out. I think a generic D is better for them against Donald Trump, because then they can make it about Donald Trump. Right now, the election's about Joe Biden. And if the election is a referendum on you usually lose, just like Hillary in 16 and then Trump in 20. But I understand, Steve. Anybody who's like acting like, it's a slam dunk, I mean, you're right. It's not. It's still, I mean, the country is a 50-50 country for the most part. So it's still going to be, you're never going to see 1984 ever again. I'm not anticipating that right now. But if the election were held today, I think Trump does win. And I don't think it's as close as some people want to make it out to be. It's almost been a year in the making. But the Plaza sale was finalized on Friday to HP Village Partners out of Dallas. There is a press conference taking place today involving city leadership to announce that big exchange. Exciting times for Kansas City. Kate Marshall is here. She is the founder and the president of the Plaza District Council. She joins us on KCMO in Kansas City. Kate, good morning. Thanks so much for the time. And what's this morning and this week like for you as the Plaza gets set for some new ownership down there?
Good morning, Pete. Thanks for having me. Well, I think as you know, and a lot of other folks around town feel, there's a tremendous amount of excitement and optimism.
What's the biggest thing that you want to see, Kate, the new ownership group do to improve the Plaza, to take it to the next level?
Well, they have all kinds of exciting plans because they've done this before. They've done a beautiful job with Highland Park Village and a couple of other equally well-turned-out retail shopping centers around the country. We expect that with that kind of expertise and knowledge, they're going to put in an array of stores, both the high-end kind of beautiful stores that they feature in Dallas and some more approachable ones. I think that's going to really turn things around, but I don't think that's going to happen overnight. I know that they have, the owners have talked about how security will be job one, because that's a thing that everybody wants to know and feel the Plaza is a safe and comfortable place to go and be. I think that's going to make a big difference. I know Chief of Police Stacey Graves has talked about how she's really anticipating an opportunity to sit down with the new owners and work out a plan. The Major Kari Thompson of the Community Engagement Division has already been on the Plaza multiple evenings, keeping a lid on things and keeping an eye on things and making sure everybody has a good time. Mm-hmm. That's really important.
What you mentioned the police chief, Stacey Graves. Obviously, the police department did announce having more of a presence on the Plaza this summer. What do you think it'll take from HP Village Partners? Will it take more private security to go along with it? Is that what your members and business owners down there want?
I don't want to speculate on how they're going to go about it. I just want to confirm that they've named it as a priority, and I think that they're going to do what it takes to get us to a level of security that feels comfortable, that feels like you don't have to worry about. In fact, what you worry about when you're on the Plaza is not so much yourself as perhaps your car getting broken into, that kind of thing. So that's going to be the kind of vigilance that we expect. You'll probably see more of a presence. I don't know if it'll be private security. There's already, plenty of KCPD police presence, but of course we know that our police department is understaffed at the moment, and there's a whole lot of reasons why they're a little bit hand-tied right at the moment.
So what do you see, with the sale finalized on Friday of the Plaza, the announcement, they got a press conference today at 10 o'clock. What has been, as you've seen it, just some of the bigger issues with prior ownership that you hope will get addressed with this new ownership?
Well, I think one of the reasons we're really excited about this owner is that we know that they're going to come in and appreciate what so many of us love about the Plaza, the way it looks, the way it feels, the charm, the architecture, the history, and it's fully their intention to preserve and protect and enhance what is there. They don't want to deviate from the architectural look and feel. So their plans, which I think we'll hear more about at 10 o'clock today, will be around what does it take to bring it back up to par, to bring it to a level that we've all, for decades, known and loved the Plaza as just a beautiful place to be. I think, lots of folks have talked about walkability. There may be some sections that are a little more designed for a pedestrian experience. I'm not suggesting they're going to close roads, but I think there are lots of ways in some of the streets and roads on the Plaza that are broad enough that you can add wine bars and cocktail places, and they're very focused on using local restaurants and local tenants. So I think we're going to see a resurgence of a local presence that people have missed on the Plaza for a long time.
So do you see, Kate Marshall is the president of the Plaza District Council on KCMO Talk Radio. Obviously, the price point is always pretty high. So do you see a way to lure those local businesses in to give it some of that local flair? I don't know if it's, rent breaks, rent cuts, whatever it might be, but do you see incentives to get those local businesses down there as you see?
That's been something that I've been curious about. Honestly, Pete, I don't know how that's going to work itself out, but I imagine they're going to come up with some solutions because it has been pretty prohibitively expensive to try to operate a business on the Plaza.
Yeah. Okay. Now, you mentioned there maintaining the character of the Plaza. There have been some rumors or reports, suggestions that there might be interest in doing more kind of high-rise apartment-style stuff down there. Do you anticipate that being part of the plan while maintaining the current character and architecture that exists, or is it not going to be the case where they could try to build up as much as possible down that way?
Well, I think it's important for people to understand that the 15 retail blocks that have just changed hands and are now owned by HPV Voltio is distinct and different from the entire Plaza. So on the entire Plaza, there are, encircling it, 17 high-rises, over 15 hotels, 2,500 hotel beds are actually down in the Plaza area. There are office buildings like where CBiz is located and where Lockton is located, American Century is located. So there is already a lot of high-rise building in and around the Plaza. I don't know whether they're going to take any of the property that they own inside those 15 retail blocks and build it higher, but we have zoning that will give them indications about which buildings can go to which height.
Well, will you be down there today at 10 o'clock, Kate? Is that you're going to be down there?
I sure will.
Okay. And who will be down there? HP Village Partners, I assume some city council folks, the mayor's office?
That's who I expect will be behind the mics, and I think then there'll be a room full of good media folks wanting to hear all the latest.
Yeah. Well, it's an exciting time, and Kate Marshall, we appreciate you being here on KCMO, and we'll be watching today at 10.
Well, great. Thank you very much for having me, Pete. We're super excited.
You bet.
It's a great, great day for Kansas City.
It is. Thank you very much to Kate Marshall for being here on KCMO, the president of the Plaza District Council. As HP Village Partners officially bought the Plaza on Friday, And today at 10 o'clock, there will be a press conference. We'll try to carry some of that on the Ray Stevens show. Mark's all over it this morning, so we'll be following that here on KCMO. What will it take to get you back down there? I mean, as I sit here this morning with you on a Monday morning, and you hear, okay, the Plaza finally sold. This group at Dallas bought it. They own Highland Park, which is a swanky shopping district down there in the Dallas area. What do they need to do to get you back down there shopping, to get you back down there dining? What will it take? Is it new fancy stores? Is it local stores? Is it just about, perceptions on crime? 913-408-7957. Your phone calls, your texts, we'll dive into coming up, plus Charlotte O'Hara at the bottom of the hour, Johnson County Commissioner, because they are dealing with now funding homeless shelters on I-35. We'll get to that, plus you, coming up on 95.7 FM KCMO and streaming, as always, at KCMOTalkRadio.com.